For the first 5 minutes, you do a warm-up at about 40% of your FTP. So you want to just get the legs opened up, start to get your heart rate up a little bit, get in a comfortable cadence. Zwift will usually come up and remind you somewhere in the middle of this ride that you want to be at a higher cadence for your warm-ups. In the ERG mode that Zwift uses in these FTP rides, it gives you a cadence to aim for to hit, and when you hit that cadence, it will automatically change the resistance to match what your goal is for each segment. So this 5-minute warm-up at 100 watts, and then we'll go into a secondary warm-up phase, and then into some tempo work, and then 4x10 for heavy sprints. And then we have another sort of sweet spot just below your threshold for 5 minutes, and then a 3-minute cool down segment, and then 4 5-minute segments at about 70% of your FTP. So we're gonna work through all this stuff today. So the Zwift world, I think today is London. They have a couple different maps. Depending on the day, you'll be riding on a particular map. One of the big parts of Zwift is the social network. You're able to talk to other riders, ride with other riders, sort of get the community behind the ride. It's a good way to stay connected in Wisconsin winters where you really don't want to ride outside. So as the warm-up continues through the first 5-minute segment, it'll incrementally increase your wattage that you're trying to hit, just to sort of build some heat in your muscles, get you used to working a little bit harder, and it helps you get ready for the working segments of the rest of the ride. I think today's ride is about 52 minutes. I don't like doing much more than an hour on a saddle indoors, so these as a daily routine tend to work out pretty well. So in the upper left-hand portion of the screen, we'll give you the amount of time you have left in your workout. It'll give you your wattage goals for each segment, as well as the time per segment. And then it uses a star system. As long as you hit each segment at the appropriate wattage for the appropriate time, you will gain a star, sort of indicating that you're completing each segment of the workout. In the upper right-hand side of the screen is a map that shows you the world that you're in, and we'll give you a couple options as far as the route you want to take, as well as listing other riders that are currently on the same course as you. And then as you're riding through the course, you'll see some brightly colored sort of finish line goals, and that's where each segment is ending and beginning. Depending on the color, each matches up with a different power range for each user. So you can kind of go through that, and it gives you a visual reference as to how much longer you need to work hard for, or how much longer you get a break for. And then at the bottom of the screen, it sort of indicates both your heart rate as well as your wattage output, continual throughout the ride, so it's always changing. Kind of see a nice curved line as to how you're going through your workout. So we're just finishing up our warm-up segment here, moving into our first sort of low watt segment. And we're going to sit here for 2 minutes. and then we'll go into more of the real workload of the workout. With the ERG mode, you don't have to worry about shifting at all. It's easy to hop on, just kind of ride. It makes it convenient. You don't have to think about matching your gearing to your cadence as you're going through it. So for beginners or even more advanced riders, you know, in the dead of winter and probably don't really want to go train, but you need to, you just go hop on and get something done. In the FTP workouts, it doesn't utilize the environmental factors that Zwift has for free riding. So your resistance is based on the workout resistance, but when you free ride, you're able to work based on what they created. So you'll have the advantages of going uphill and downhill. They have a fun little part of their game, sort of like Mario Kart, where you can get like an aerodynamic boost or a drafting bonus. That makes it fun and sort of more interactive when you're riding with your friends. All right, so we're getting to the end of the 2-minute 100-watt segment. We're going to move into the 3-minute 140-watt. Here's the first sort of start to a little bit more power. Nothing big yet. So get us used to pushing a little bit harder before we move into our sprint segments, which would be 10 seconds off and then an allotted break time between. So on the map, we're coming to a point where you have an option to sort of select your route. At the bottom of the screen, you can use keys on your keyboard, or if you're using Zwift Mobile Link on your phone, you can select which route you want to take with the arrow keys or directional pads. If you don't press anything, your ride will continue. It'll just go with whatever Zwift selected as your path. Got another minute and a half at 140. I'm gonna move into our sprints. The blue bar at the top with your allotted time left in the segment fills up as you're hitting your goals. So even if you don't get 100% of the 3 minutes at 140 seconds, as long as you get X percentage, you're achieving the goal of that segment. So now we're moving into our sprint segment. I'm gonna push through these at a high RPM. So at 110 RPM for 10 seconds at 355 watts. Then back into 50 seconds at 80 RPM for 100 watts. We'll do 4 of these. Then another little short cool down at 100 watts. Back up and do 180 for a 5-minute workload. All right, I'm coming into our second segment of the sprints. $355 watts for 10 seconds. Back down to 100 watts for 50 seconds. So the speed that you're seeing in this workout is still based on the environment and wattage, but your resistance is only changing based on the wattage that you're hitting for your workout. So sometimes you'll be flying by people when you're not actually working that hard. Our third sprint. All right, back down to 100 watts. So I have one more sprint segment. About 3 minutes of lower wattage and then back up into 180 watts. Back down to 100. So one of the great things about the hammer is it gives you the ability to coast and restart without really having to power through everything, which allows you to go from really high wattage segments to your low wattage segments with some ease. All right, so we just finished our sprint segments. And I got 2 minutes at 100 watts. It's a good time to grab some water. So as a day one into the FTP workout, there's nothing about this that's too extravagant. You know, after doing the FTP test, you should be able to hit all these numbers pretty well without overexerting yourself too much. And as the workout progresses over the next couple weeks, you'll continue to get a little bit harder a little bit harder every week. Really starting to force yourself to get better. So now I can see that little yellow glowing ring up there is where my next segment starts, which is about 30 seconds away. Just try to maintain the wattage for the segment. We'll hit it and bring ourselves up to 180 watts. Hold that for 5 minutes and then go into the next sort of cool off segment. So now we're starting the 180 watts. I want to try to maintain 95 RPM, or within 5 RPM of that is usually what Zwift pushes you to. So I'm going to sit here for 5 minutes, just a little bit under the threshold. Probably see my heart rate climb up a bit and taper off. When you really put out a ton of power, in a short period of time, your avatar in Zwift will come out of his seat and really make the sprint motion, which is always fun to see. There's a butterfly. Two minutes into the 180 watts. Another 3 minutes to go. So underneath my jersey, I've got a PowerTap PowerCal to link up with my heart rate, and then the Hammer trainer provides me with all the other metrics, the wattage, cadence, and speed. Then you plug in your weight into Zwift, and then it uses your weight and wattage to calculate your speed. Two minutes left, 180 watts. "20 minutes almost into the full workout. Got a minute left of the 180 watt 5-minute segment. Everything's a little bit easier after this. Ten seconds left. All right, and back down to 100 watts, 85 RPM. So the idea behind the 3-minute 100 watts here between my 180 and 160 watt segments is to get my heart rate to drop. All my muscles felt with some oxygen and some new blood moving. So I'm hoping at the end of this segment I'll be down in the 130s somewhere. And then we'll have 4 5-minute segments at 160 watts with probably a minute or two of lower wattage in between each one of those. Sort of serve the same purpose. And that's to help get used to the tempo that you're going to be at if you're going to ride at your functional threshold power for 20 minutes for a test. It also helps sort of teach you how to be comfortable with each cadence at each speed. Makes you be a little bit more aware of what you're doing. It's the first time I've ever tracked heart rate and power. Was with the hammer starting this year and the power cal. Going into the road riding season this next spring and summer, for sure gonna have to get some power set up on my bike because otherwise I don't really know what I'm doing anymore. All right, so we got 10 seconds and we're starting our first 160 watt 5-minute segment. Shouldn't be too bad after what we've done already. All right. So it looks like we have a 1-minute rest period in between each one. It's not too bad. Catch your breath a little bit. So 4 of these segments, looks like it's up to me to pick out what cadence I want to hit. Just try to hold it right about 160 watts get comfortable for the longer working periods. Since we're not pushing to the overall limit of what my power is, I don't want to see my heart rate get up too high. For me, once I get above 170, 175, I'm starting to get in sort of that maximum workload area. So as long as I sit under 160 for these segments, I should be in the right zone, I think. Ooh, that's a lot of sweat. All right, so we're about halfway into our first segment at 160 watts. Three more of these, I think. It's not too bad. The goal here is really to just be consistent with each segment, try to hit the power that they give you, and just maintain it. I don't want to see really big spikes in anything or big drops. So the finish lines that you're seeing here on Zwift are distance markers. So you'll come up on those. I think there'll be one right before I finish this segment. They're not illuminated. They'll just look sort of like the finish line would on any regular race. So a minute left to this first segment here. All right, here's a distance marker. About to go under that. And then finish up this first 160 watt segment. All right, then we're back down to 125 watts. I'm gonna hold this for about a minute. And back up to our 160 watt segment. Ten seconds, then we'll be back in our 160 watt work. All right, there you go. So we're just over 30 minutes into our overall workout. We got about 20 minutes left. We'll have the rest of this segment, 2 more 160 watt segments, and then a 4-minute cool down. So to end the day, get the blood moving around the body, help with some soreness later. So with the environment being downhill here, I'm still pushing some wattage, so my speed is really high. You have to spin pretty fast outside to achieve wattage downhill like this, to really push these speeds. So about halfway through this segment, 2.5 minutes, and then we'll get a minute rest. So we got about a minute left on this 160 watt segment. Then we'll get into our rest period. About 30 seconds left. And we're coming into the end of this segment here. And we're back down to 125 watts. Grab some more water. Get back into that recovery watt. Zwift, it's a nice reminder that you're only halfway there. Another 20 seconds of recovery, and then go back into the next workload. All right, here we are. 160 watts again for 5 more minutes. I think we're not too far away from the end. Got about 15 minutes left on the workout. So far on Zwift's course, I've been riding for 8.5 miles. So this other orange bar sort of at the top of the center of the screen is your Zwift level. You gain points from rides, I think from overall mileage, and you can level up within Zwift to unlock new jerseys or bikes or equipment, sort of customize your character as you go. All right. Got 3 minutes left in this segment. It's getting close to halfway. Looks like there's another finish line coming up here. All right, we got about 2 minutes left before our next rest period. Only one segment left after this at 160 watts. So we're almost 40 minutes into our 52-minute workout. Got about a minute left of this segment, and we got our last rest period before our final workload. All right, 30 seconds left. Let's keep that consistent power. Oh, there's our 10-mile mark. All right, we're into our next rest period. So now 125 watts for the rest of this minute segment. Then one more 5-minute. That looks like one 125 watt segment, and then down to 100 watts for 4 minutes, and we're done. About 10 minutes left total. All right, final 160 watt segment. Just gotta get through this. And you can cool down and call it a day. Goal here isn't to overwork, but just be consistent with all your power. All right, we're coming up on our halfway mark for this final 160 watt segment. Just 2.5 minutes to go. Oh, there's some options on which direction. It looks like we're looping around for the second time through this section. Minute 30 left in the 160 watts. Then we'll go into our rest periods for 5 minutes, and then we'll be done. 1 minute left. Nice way to spend sub-zero days here in Wisconsin. It's getting really sweaty inside. All right, 10 seconds left of this stuff. We'll go into our cool downs for the last 5 minutes here. All right. $125 watts for a minute. And then we're gonna go down to 100 watts for the last 4. All right, we're down to 100 watts here for the last 4 minutes at 85 RPM. So our cool down. Be sure you don't stiffen up too much when you get off the bike. So when this is all done, all of your metrics will be saved in a fit file. You can go back and look at them. It'll automatically upload to your Strava account if it's linked, and you're able to look at all of your speed, cadence, and power and heart rate over the entire ride. It's a good thing to sort of look through. You can start to see with some of these workouts where your strengths and weaknesses are, sort of the types of riding you need to improve upon. So there are metrics that would also be useful outside as well as inside. This just starts to give you a good indication as to where you think you might be as you move forward. If you're interested in getting into racing, or if you're looking at more of your overall health and fitness, and you're looking at what your fat burning zones might be, or if you just want to get into better overall health and ride a lot, it makes it a bit more entertaining. So here we're just slowly bringing our heart rate down, spinning our legs out, trying to get a little more comfortable as you're coming out of your workout. All right, got a minute and 30 seconds left total for our day 1 FTP workout. Try to keep it consistent through the end. 1 minute left. Last 30 seconds here. You can see that finish line. All right. Final couple seconds and it'll be done. So there's your day one, your FTP workout. It shows you your sort of overall heart rate and power distributions over the timeline. Gives you your heart rate, speed, and cadence, as well as your heart rate zone distribution. Zwift does a 5-zone breakdown. You can see it on the bottom right-hand side. And all this information will be uploaded to my Strava account, so I have mine linked, and I'll be able to look back at it. All right. Well, that's the end of it.